Hi, Jamie. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well, thank you.
Will you be attending ICANN 75 this year?
Yes, I'll be going up for the APNIC conference and then
Okay.
staying for SGNOG on the Friday. I'm then going up to KL and I'm going to be attending ICANN for the week, and also on the Monday I'm attending part of MyNOG. So
Oh,
a couple
okay.
of network operators groups as well. So yeah, I'm going to be at but all sorts of different conferences. But yeah, over the 2 weeks I'll be up in Singapore and KL. So it's
Oh,
good.
that's really great. I
Yeah.
was supposed to be attending the SNOG, but
Mhm.
then I think that ethnic 54 is there, right? Not
Yes,
54.
correct. Yep.
Yeah. So ethnic is there as well for Singapore, but probably not this time. I will be attending ICANN 75 for sure from NCUC.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I'll definitely be there.
Yeah.
Oh, so sounds like a couple other people will be there as well, which is good.
Yeah. You're going to meet people like Aries, right? Aries is
Yep.
sending messages. Yeah,
Yes, I
it's
saw
really good to
Eris.
know that you're here.
Yep. And
So far I have, yes, sorry.
the APAN Secretariat, Liana and Sean, they're actually based in KL as well. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm going to be attending 4 different conferences and meeting different people from a lot of organizations. It'll be
So
good.
your head is everywhere now.
Yes. Well, and we've got APAN, and then next week I'm flying to Kuala Lumpur, or sorry, next week I'm flying to Fiji,
Singapore. Okay,
doing
Fiji.
some cyber security training for law enforcement. And
Oh,
just yesterday, APNIC had our audit for ISO 27001, and apparently we passed with flying colors. So we're going to wait for the official paper to do public notice. But yeah, there's been a lot of things going on right around this time. It's a very busy time of year for me.
yeah. So far I have met Sunny and Paul Wilson.
Yep, yep,
Yeah, I have met Paul and Sunny, but
excellent.
it's really nice to know you because probably definitely we'll be meeting in KL for
Yes,
the ICANN 35.
yep. Are you planning to come to Nepal for the next APAN meeting as well in March next year?
I don't know because I'm targeting to go to Mexico for ICANN 76.
Oh, nice. Yep.
I don't know if that's going to be a conflict. I don't think that's going to be a conflict, right?
I haven't checked the ICANN schedule. I'm probably not going to be able to attend the next ICANN, but let me just have a quick look and see when that's scheduled for.
Yeah,
Oh, it's also in March. It'll be close. Yeah,
yeah, it'll be close.
even if it's close, it might be too close to fly back and forth to other parts of the world like that.
Yeah, I'm planning to apply for if any kind of fellowship or something is there to
Yep.
attend the APAN, but not sure so far. Hopefully I will.
Yeah,
Hi, Aries.
APAN in Nepal
Yeah.
is the 13th to the 17th of March, and ICANN is I just lost it, but yeah, I think it's the same week.
Yeah, it's kind of the same. So I'll have to check whether we can make it all the way from Nepal to Mexico. But I will definitely, if I get the opportunity, I'll definitely be a part of APAN next year, hopefully.
Excellent.
Yeah, yes, Aries, we want to meet you too. And we are excited to meet you. Okay. So I can is from March 11 to 16. That's great.
Yeah.
But it's just one day apart. I don't know. I'm not so sure whether we can make it in one day if it's 17.
What was APAN? APAN is 13 to 17, so yeah, it is the exact same week.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
can't make it.
No. Yeah, I'm a little bit more restricted because APNIC is Asia Pacific focused, so
Yes.
it's very, very difficult for me to get outside of the region, but there's a lot of things happening within Asia Pacific, so
Yeah, that's really good to know. Yes, Yoshiaki, we are just interrupting and talking. Sorry.
Sorry. Actually, I'm not good at actually I have no idea how to attract more people in current virtual situation, and I'm sorry that currently there are about 10 people participating. But anyway, I think it's time to it's better to start the session. So let me introduce again. I'm Yoshiaki Kasahara. I'm a APAN Security Working Group chair, and there are two co-chairs, Rakesh-san and Jinan-san from India and APAN. Every APAN meeting, we have this kind of presentation session and invite several presentations here to discuss about security, especially network security. And this time we have 5 presentations, and we have two. Actually, we have two 90 minute sessions, and I roughly assign 30 minutes per presentation. But the how can I say, the length is flexible, so I not very strict. So I'd like to introduce the first presentation, Technology and Cyber Terrorism, the Future Prospect, by Ms. Razoana Moslam.
Yep.
Analyze AI. So wait a moment, I stop sharing my screen. So please share your presentation and go ahead when ready.
Alrighty, so my name is Razoana Moslam. I will be talking about the technology and the cyber terrorism, the future prospects, in particularly based in Australia, and also I'll be discussing a bit of my views from Bangladesh as well. So I am currently working with Analyst.ai, which is a medical AI company. They are dealing with artificial intelligence sort of technology. So I am kind of relevantly working on the technology side. I'm working there as a team assistant for the strategy and operations team, but also I'm also doing I have done my bachelor's and master's in law. So my perspective would be more over in law section. So let's start with the title. So the title is basically self-speaking what I'm going to talk about today. So it's technology and the cyber terrorism that is specifically, and I'm also going to discuss the future prospects of cyber terrorism. Let's to start with the content. Let me just move this a bit. Okay. All right. Sorry. So just to ask you firstly, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, it's showing the main PowerPoint window, not the presenter view. I don't know if you want to switch to presenter view or not.
Is the PowerPoint is coming? Let me just double check what is coming now.
We can still see it clearly if you wanted to continue like that.
Oh, okay, okay. I can continue with that one. That's fine. So give me 1 second. All right. So to discuss with the first thing, I'll be discussing about the background, and then I'll be giving a little bit of definition of cyber terrorism. Then we are going to identify who are the next-gen offenders, or who are actually the main offenders of this cyber terrorism that we can talk about. And then we have the reality of the threat. That means actually the case studies. And then current prospects, like the causes and effects and stuff. And then we have cyber security framework. I'll be talking about some legal laws, rules and regulations and policies from perspective of Bangladesh, and also some facts from Australia currently. And then we are going to talk how we can reform the society. To speak first about the, sorry. So to give you the first background, so the term cybersecurity was first contained by Barry Collins in the late in 1997. There was a book from Collins where the term cybersecurity was first coined by Barry Collins. He was a senior research fellow there, and the intelligence in California in the 1980s. So no single definition of the term has yet gained from the global perspective. But tagging a computer attack as a cyber terrorism is the problematic because it's because of the difficulty of determining the intention in identity or political motivation of an attacker with a certainty. So the roots of the notion of cyber terrorism can be traced back to the early 1990s, when the rapid growth of internet use and the debate on the emerging information society sparked several studies on the potential risk faced by the highly networked, high tech dependent. The security community, the information technology industry, journalists, politicians, and the experts in variety of fields have popularized a scenario in which the sophisticated cyber terrorism electronically breaks into computers that control dams or air traffic control systems, wreaking havoc and endangering not only millions of lives, but national security itself. And yet, despite all the gloomy predictions of a cyber-generated doomsday, no single instance of real cyber terrorism has been recorded so far. So cyber terrorism is it's still like a concept, but we haven't actually seen any mass effect, or let's say any fact has not been recognized where we can say it's a cyber terrorist attack. If we talk about the definition, the term cyber terrorism was first coined by the Barry Collins that I have already mentioned. So he was a research fellow in California. He defined, and also Dunning in his book defined cyber terrorism is the convergence of terrorism and cyberspace. It is generally understood to mean unlawful attacks and threats of attack against computers, networks, and the information stored therein, when done to intimidate or coerce a government or its people in furtherance of political or social objectives. And also we can overall say that cyber terrorism is a kind of politically motivated terrorism prepared through the use of computers, information networking, and infrastructure technology in order to carry out destructive and malicious terrorist activities. In the view of critical importance of these basic elements, experts believe that cyber terrorism is more damaging than conventional terrorism. Why is that? Cyber terrorism is convenient because it refers to unlawful attacks and threats of attacks against computer network and the information stored therein when done to intimidate, and it's actually basically based on the technology, and we are actually moving forward the technology. So our future is actually now depending on the AIs and depending on the computers, on internet. We are working from home. We have all the data stored in our computers. See, if I'm working in one company and then I have all the information I have access to all the information of my company in my laptop, and if somebody hacks it, and then it is a mass distraction for the company itself, and also the parties where the company is working as a third party maybe, or it has connections worldwide. So cyber terrorism can be generated from one small wing, but it can be spread to a vast, it can be used as a vast effect. It has a vast effect, if we say it simply. So what is actually the reality of the threat? So the danger of cyber terrorists hacking into government and private computer systems, that's what I was talking about. So instead of me being a normal private sector person, the computer could be a government official computer. So what happens when it has been hacked by a cyber terrorist group? And then it could be the military, it could be the finance sector, it could be the service sector or advanced economy. Now, this is the reality, and this is the reality of the threat. Cyber terrorism is an attractive option for modern terrorists because you can just work from home and they can work from home as well. So it has a very concerning element, I would say. It's cheap. The target audience are vast, so they can organize a community which they can offer staying anywhere in the world. It could be they can be staying in Fiji and still operate a terrorist group in somewhere in Sudan, maybe. So that's what I'm saying. Like it's vast in terms of the threat. Cyber terrorism is more anonymous than traditional terrorist method, and cyber terrorism can be conducted remotely. So there has been no record instance of terrorist cyber attack on public facilities, transportation system, nuclear power plants, power grids, or other key elements of national infrastructure so far. But definitely there were some cyber hacking happened in different countries. So the other countries, maybe there were some incidents that happened in India where the Pakistani hackers has hacked their government websites, and then they were down for several hours. So this is cyber hacking, but cyber terrorism is entirely a different thing. Cyber attackers are common, definitely, but they have not conducted by terrorists, and they have not sought in conflict the kind of damage they would qualify them as a cyber terrorism. So cyber terrorism is just how real is the threat the cyber terrorism poses? That's the main question. So because most critical infrastructure in Western societies is networked through computers, and the potential threat from cyber terrorism is, to be sure, very alarming. Hackers, although not motivated by terrorists, but still they might have some goals that is inspired by the terrorists, and have demonstrated that individuals can gain access to sensitive information to the operations of crucial services. Terrorists, at least in theory, could thus follow the hackers, lead, and then cripple, having broken into government and private computers, cripple or at least disable the military, financial, and service sectors of the advanced economy. Now, cyber terrorism is an attractive option for modern terrorists for several reasons. Why? First, as I said, it's cheap. So it's cheaper than the traditional terrorist method. See, for example, if the terrorist needs, all the terrorist needs is just a computer, personal computer, and online connections. Terrorists do not need to buy weapons such as guns, explosive, and then they don't need to train a lot of, people. So they don't need to buy the weapons, and they don't need to get the money or spend the money, a lot of money that we are talking about. And the damage that still could be very vast. How is that? So secondly, see, the cyber terrorism is more anonymous. Traditional terrorist attacks. See, if someone attacks anything, if he's a very good in technology, he has very good knowledge in technology, he might be able to hide his identity. Even if he's from a terrorist group, he belongs to a terrorist group or has been sent by a terrorist group, but still it would be hard for us to find it. So that's why they can work remotely. So that is the potential threat that we're talking about. We don't know, but so far it's our good luck that nothing vast has happened so far. And then we have cyberspace. There's no physical barriers, and then such as checkpoints or navigate, no borders to cross, and no custom agents to outsmart. The variety of number of targets are enormous. So the audiences are vast. The cyber terrorists could target the computers and the computer networks of several airlines and so forth. So this is what we are talking about. So this is the reality of the threat. So how intense the threat is. Now let's talk about some laws, policies, regulations that is existing in Bangladesh, because I'll be talking about both perspectives of Bangladesh and Australia. There are some adequate laws concerning to cyber crimes in Bangladesh, but no efficient enforcement. Laws relating to cyber crimes are defined in Information and Communication Technology Act, Bangladesh the Penal Code, the Pornography Control Act. So these are more about the cyber crimes related acts, but we can't see any single provision that exactly says that cyber terrorism word in these acts. So there are some Bangladesh Information and Communication Technology Act in 2006, the Digital Security Act 2018, and the main substantive law of these are the main substantive laws of cybercrime. But Bangladesh Information and Communication Technology Act describes this crime as both civil and criminal matters. But we are talking here about the international matters. All right. So now the next point is cyber offences facts in Australia. What is happening in Australia from the last 1 year? So over the 2020-2021 financial year, so there were 16,500 cybercrime reports, an increase of nearly 13% from the previous financial year. Though this is just a cybercrime report, but I wanted to mention it here because of the point here, which is says it has been increased. Now, when it increases, what do we do? That is going to be a main point of tension or point of concern. So the ACSC annual cyber threat report exemplifies the severity of cybercrime and threat posed by both individuals and businesses. However, many of these crimes are simply a fraction of the millions of crimes still waiting to be uncovered and revealed. Over 67,500 cybercrime reports, an increase of nearly 30. Sorry, I just mentioned it earlier already. So with the increasing amount of cybercrime reporting, one cyber attack is being reported every 8 minutes rather than 10 last year. So it's the main point of our discussing these matters are actually the growth. So we can see that the damage related to cybercrimes is projected to hit 6 trillion annually by 2021. Now, this is going to be 8 or 10 trillion by the end of 2022. The cost of cybercrimes are not limited to just damages, but also include theft of intellectual property, cash flows, and data breaches, as well as data restoration and damages and of the company reputation. Sorry. Now, how can we reform the society? Before discussing that, let me just tell you some facts. So the challenge before us now is to assess what needs to be done to address this ambiguous but potential threat of cyber terrorism without inflating its real significance and manipulating the fear of inspired. Why we are talking about being inspired? Because of the term next gen offenders. Who are these next gen offenders? The users, the youth users, who actually initially, from my experience, my generation, they used to work hard, they used to have different professions, and they were very much inspired to work and earn and then save the money and leave the money so peacefully. But now, because of this social pressure, the youth are more dedicating their time on the internet, and they are actually getting, seeing this lavish lifestyle of the IT sector or the businessmen overall around the world. Sorry, they are really getting inspired in terms of becoming a YouTuber or making so many videos and then earning so much money in dollars and stuff. So what happens here is ethically, they are choosing a different profession than the traditional one. Now, when they choose a different profession, that's a very good concept. That's a very inspiring thing. But what happens here is this is for a certain time. It actually not only creates an urge to earn a lot of money, but also it challenges their ethics as well. Over the year, I have observed several cases where we conducted a research and we found out the contents of this the change of the content of these videos or these ways of earning the money. So what happens, the contents are actually now challenging the ethics. So in terms of ethics, it is a very, very great potentiality then that the terrorist groups are also getting in contact in this youth community. So when they have this youth community on their hand as a weapon, roaming around, having some knowledge about very basic knowledge about IT, but also they have the urge to earn money. In that terms, the cyber terrorism can be created among this community, the youth community or the next-gen offenders, very easily. That's what we found out. So they can be manipulated very easily. They have this capacity to, make you understand what they want you to understand. So this is where we are thinking about how we can reform the society a bit more. So in terms of the reformation, we would prefer if before getting, there should be an age of getting the access of all the websites and all, minimum age should be there. And also the knowledge of ICT or the, let's say, not only the knowledge of ICT, but also creating a basic ethics among this youth is a very important task for now. We think that we should be creating awareness among the parents, among their elders, so that they can keep an eye on the youth, that what purposes the youth is actually using the internet, and then how they can morally be inspired to use the good side of the internet rather than roaming around and looking for monies and other ways to, harm other people or make any kind of damages. So this is where we are going to say that cyber terrorism is a very concerning matter that we should be, tackling with a very, very concerning infrastructure. And then that should be also reformed in a way based on the society needs and based on their users. That's it for the presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much. So any questions or comments from the audience? You may turn on the mic and speak up directly.
Rojana, if I'm not wrong, you have just provided the general background about the cybersecurity. Have you done any case studies? Have you done any case studies on cyber attack so that we can you can provide some features so that all the researchers can take the initiative on this field?
Yeah. To be very, I think that's Rakesh, right?
Yeah.
Hi, Rakesh. So we have done in the very beginning of my presentation, maybe I've clarified that one, or maybe I missed to clarify that one. We are talking about cyber terrorism, not the cyber hackers or cyber offenses, other cyber attacks. So cyber terrorism is basically specifically for the terrorist group that are actually working to target the people to get involved in their group, and also any kind of terrorist attack to create a terror among the society. So far, we haven't seen anything like that. So far, I might be wrong, but we have done the research definitely, and then we found out no evidence of exactly creating the, see, for example, ISIs. They have always created the physical damages. They have shown us, but there is no case where they have actually hacked any of the US websites or any of the countries' websites where they use the data for a different purpose. So that's what is not visible so far, but it is a matter of concern as well, because they are going to overgrow. If they can target a lot of young people and then they can be involved, so definitely we can assume, or we can expect that this kind of events are going to come. So that's the forthcoming threat that we are talking about. I think that clarifies a bit of your question.
It's okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comment? I don't know where about the terrorism itself, but I have a question, or how can I say? I'm sorry. For physical terrorism, it is how can I say, very clear that there is a how can I say, strong how can I say, damage to a certain place or group of people, and it can cause actually terror for many people. But on the other hand, cyber attack is more subtle, and sometimes it's not very clear the purpose or damage of the attack it caused. So you say that cyber terrorism is more anonymous, but on the other hand, to achieve the objective of political objective, maybe some terrorist groups need to show the attack is done by their group. So I somewhat agree that your last slide, the physical attack is more concerning compared to cyber terrorism. Also, I think for physical attack, we need to implement a very different protection compared to other ordinary crime act. But for cyber attack, both cyber attack and cyber terrorism need to use the same vulnerability or some similar way. So protecting the important facility or how can I say, important facility from cyber attack, both protect cyber attack and cyber terrorism. So I think I wonder if there are very different aspects between mere cyber attack and cyber terrorism. I think we need to protect. I think the high value target for cyber terrorism is also a high value for ransomware and other attack to earn money. So I think the differentiation is not very important for protecting cyber property from both attack. How do you think about it? I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm pretty, if I'm getting you correctly. So you said like something cyber attack and cyber terrorism are kind of, the definition is not important, rather it's important to protect both of them. Is that what you said? All right, let me just give you a small example. So around this world, if you search it on the internet, you will find there are 440 nuclear power plants, right? It is being operated from 32 countries. So if cyber terrorism is a threat, that's what we are saying, because if any of the terrorist groups, they target one of these power plants, they can use that one as a nuclear reactor and attack any of the countries they want. So this is where we should be more concerned, because on this nuclear power plant, everything is definitely, I can make sure that there are some computers, they have this data stored, they have these policies, they can share the information, how to make the nuclear weapons and stuff like that. So what happens here is cyber terrorism, that's what we mentioned, that's what I mentioned, because cyber terrorist attacks particularly hasn't happened anywhere yet, but there are some prospects that it can happen anytime. Maybe somewhere in the world, somebody is actually planning to create something destructive, some more destruction could happen. So that's why we have to be more cautious, and we have to make sure that even if there are some evil eyes somewhere, but our next generation are way far from there, from that connection. So we have to make sure that youth from next generation should be much more concerned and aware that this kind of attack So we should create those awareness among the youth that this kind of groups are everywhere. They can motivate you, they can manipulate you, they can easily give you some access of information and ask you to do some stuff and things like that. So they should be more concerned we should be more concerned that how we can protect our next generation from this kind of terrorist groups. And then we can have national and international level policies strictly so that people would not, they would dare to get involved in this kind of activities and all. So that's why I referred Bangladesh, because in Bangladesh particularly, there are provisions of cyber attacks and cyber offenses like hacking or phishing, or let's say, getting the data, stealing the data, online theft and stuff like that. But they haven't have any provisions where it actually talks about the cyber terrorism, the term itself. So we need to make sure that around this world, each and every country have their own reformed laws, policies, so that people could know that these things exist and these things might happen in future. Definitely it will happen in future, might be. So we should be having proper laws and regulations so that this kind of event doesn't happen. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So actually, the problem is not the cyber attack or cyber terrorism, but not prevent younger generation to involve with such bad activities. This is your main concern, I understand.
Yeah.
So similar thing is happening in Japan. I think there are some not cyber terrorism, but for cyber attack, younger people are involved without knowing what they are doing. So that's also a problem. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. So I think it's time to conclude the first presentation and proceed to next. Thank you very much, Ms. Moslam. So next presentation is Mr. Kumar-san.
Mr. Vinod Kumar. Yes, sir. Second is my presentation. Yes.
Yeah, kindly share the screen. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sir. I am sharing.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please start. Please start.
Okay, sir. Is the PPT visible?
Yes. Please continue.
Okay, sir. Good morning, good morning, sir. Myself Vinod Kumar, and I am right now working as an assistant professor in computer science department at Maharaja Agrawal University, Himachal Pradesh. And before beginning my task, I would like to thank the session chair, co-session chair, my supervisor, Dr. Rakesh, and organizing committee of Asia Pacific Advanced Network for giving me to present my opinion on this STEAM platform. Actually, these are the outline of my today tasks. I have given some basic introduction about the IoT, then IoT security, top 10 IoT risks with their vulnerability, and followed by evolution or proposed security attack architectures. And after that, I have given the real-time hardware deployment development analysis, which I have performed earlier in the 5G IoT lab at Mata Vaishno Devi University. And first of all, introductory part of IoT, we can put IoT, the connected network where we can, where the things are connected via smart sensors and able to interact without human intervention. In the last few years, the way of using technical devices like home appliances, instruments, and other objects changing according to user reliability, and due to which Internet of Things concept is increasing exponentially. to make human life more relaxed and comfortable. Basically, the phrase IoT or Internet of Things had given by the person named Kevin Ashton in the year 1999. Then at that time, he was the co-chair and founder of the executive director of the Auto ID Center at MIT, well-known institute, Massachusetts Institute of Technology at USA. And the main existence come of formally in internationally it was formally introduced by the ITU in the year 2005. And over the past 20 years, we can see IoT technology has been developed significantly in various fields. We can see here that number of connected devices increasing day by day. Out of which, if we are going towards IoT devices, right now there are 14.4 billion devices working, which will be increased up to 27 billion devices till year 2025 worldwide. It may be almost double within 3 years, 3 to 4 years. And if we go for more specific for low power wide area network technology like LoRa or Sigfox or machine communication and narrowband IoT, the low power wide area network technology requirement is high. And if we go specifically for narrowband technology, it's the licensed technology use the narrowband spectrum. It is with the connecting growing, it will be increased by 61% year by year, driven by variety of implementation, and most notably in the area of water and gas metering. Main use of we know that every home required the water and gas metering. So the NB-IoT requirement is very much high. IoT, we can say in broad area. And in NB-IoT technology, LPWAN technology, we have already told the standardized 3GPP in June 2016. Then if we move on, IoT security, it is the biggest challenge for IoT industry. Everywhere security is the challenges. If we go for IoT, then IoT devices are very small in size. So the security becomes a challenge. And one fundamental of security component is making sure the device and services have trusted identity that can interact within secure communication. And only giving a simple certificate on and authorization law, we cannot define secure intelligence services organization can provision their device to meet requirement. And if we go for IoT security market, it will be growing growth rate. These are top 10 IoT risks which I have taken from my MS Cyber Security recently. Most prominent risk is weak and guessable hard-coded passwords. So, continued by insecure network services, ecosystem interface, insecure ecosystem interface, and lack of security update mechanism. We have not proper security mechanism. We will not update the device properly, so it's become a great vulnerability. So insufficient privacy protection continued by insecure data transfer and storage. Most of the person transfer the data through their drives, and they cannot see whether it is useful or not, whether it is harmful for future perspectives or not. And lack of device management. We go for hardware, then lack of physical hardening is also there. Next, we have to go for technological evolution of IoT. Basically, initially RFID technology came. The number of intelligent wireless devices increasing exponentially, in which data availability, data transfer speed, and power requirement and security issues playing a vital role. If we go back before the era of internet, fixed mobile telephony and SMS short messaging services came into existence in the wireless automation. And after the advancement in the internet, there has been an age of email, e-commerce, social media, and smartphones. And different sensing technologies like radio frequency identification continued by wireless and other technology also come before IoT like machine-to-machine communication. SCADA have been introduced in the IT development, and in the recent year, IoT has become the part of global internet and consists of billions of intelligent devices communicating with each other by using the internet. Its growth is growing on the way of IoT to the internet of everything. We can say internet of everything. Right now, the word going on internet of things to internet of everything. Everywhere we use the internet, every object using the internet for communicating with each other without the human interaction. So we can say the term came in existence is internet of everything. It shows the development of IoT in terms of number of users, technology growth, and frequency spectrum use. And it provides the detail of year-wise technology evolution from RFID to IoT with their application. We can see here, we have shown the graph in from year 1995 to 2025, number of users increasing exponentially, and technology in existence. From the attack perspective, I have shown some architectures and like for RFID system model. We have shown the clone attack and how we can when detect that tag. But as per the RFID security concern, tag counterfeiting and tag encoding are the essential aspect of maintaining the tag integrity. In the situation when multiple RFID tags transmit data to the RFID reader simultaneously, conflict in the data may occur. And this problem can be solved by applying the anti-collision technique. We can use the anti-collision technique to reduce this problem and conflict in the data. And multiple security threats also come in the for this, like reverse engineering attack, power analysis attack, tracking cloning attack, and other types. Next, for evolution of IoT, we have shown the WSN with black hole attack specification. Basically, what happens? Black hole. Black hole. We have shown here the black hole attack scenario in the WSN containing here the malicious sensor node. We can see here node A initially transfer from sender node S1 to the sync node. It may be the gateway or it may be the last node connected with the gateway or sync node. Attacker node A recognize the detection address and send the route replay packet with the spoofed destination address based on the significant sequence number and small hop count. So we can see here the in normal condition without attack, the sensing data is shown in this attack, the whole attack the data shown in this network. We can see here when A shown with he genuine, he will pass all the data packets pass to that malicious node and attack is performed. And that's why due to this the black hole attack performed. And as the name implies, first then we go for IoT real-time application architecture. Here we have shown that as the name implies, it is the IoT is the combination of three components. What is these components? These components are, first component is internet, second component is connectivity, and third component is physical object, or we can say things. That's why the name comes in a distance, Internet of Things. Internet, connectivity, and things. So IoT is the future of the Internet, in which every object will identify and access to the Internet. In this application architecture, I have shown the real-time application architecture, but it is classified into three parts. First part is transmitting unit. Second part is channel, communication channel, and third part is receiving unit. The transmission unit consists of various sensors, processors, and radio nodes. And these nodes further process and form the cluster head. And these sensor nodes are within the jurisdiction of gateway, which assign locally unique address to these IoT nodes within the particular LAN, and the data flow through the proxy server and then goes to the cloud network using the internet, where it uses the web socket to go to the cloud server. The cloud server analyzes the data and various backend processes run in the cloud server based on the analysis. So IoT technology supports the various applications. Most of the IoT technologies cover most of the applications which use in IoT, which are used in IoT, such as smart home, wearable, smart cities, smart grid, industries, connected home, we can say connected health, smart security, transportation, and smart agriculture. Basically, these applications cover the maximum number of IoT objects according to basically these are the analysis given by the IoT analytics. So, in the next slide, I have shown the 5-layer IoT architecture. 5-layer consisting the object layer, object abstraction layer, service layer, application layer, and business layer. If we go to, we can also divide different person give the different types of IoT layered architecture. It may be 3-layered architecture. Some has given the 4-layer architecture. Here I have shown the 5-layer IoT architecture here. The lowermost layer is the object layer. It is also called the perception layer. It will perceive the data from the sensors. It will collect the data from the sensors, different types of sensor like RFID or barcode, infrared sensor, and different other sensors enabled with the physical objects come under this layer. And this layer collects the data and of the sensor and send it to the upper layer. Next layer is object abstraction layer. It is also called the network layer, which work is to establish the network between object layer and service layer. It transfers the data safely to the service management layer and using various communication technologies such as cloud computing, fog computing, Wi-Fi, GSM, and LTE. Next layer is service layer. It is the third, and it is also called middle layer. If we have 5 layers, then we obviously think it is also called middle layer in IoT architecture design. and it will manage the process, the data to receive from various heterogeneous networks. The service division and integration service implementation provide the service using the service repository. Next is application layer, giving the customer services based on the various IoT applications, followed by business layer. Business layer is the uppermost layer. We can see here various graphs, pie charts, and various analysis came from the lower layer. It is also called the management layer. It is useful for the management purpose, taking the decisions, and it is responsible for the developing a business model, flowchart, and graph. And these are based on the data coming from the application. Now comes to the layer-wise possible security attacks. We have divided the various attacks on the basis of first we on the basis of 3 layers, that is persistent layer, network layer, and application layer. Further, it like we can, if we go for software engineering life cycle model, SDLC model. Similarly, here we can divide the IoT layer into 5 layers, like object layer, object abstraction layer, which is also called network layer, and application layer. We have divided into 3 parts: business layer, application layer, and service layer. Basically, we have worked. I have worked on narrowband IoT security. So we have divided the attacks and various security attacks like in layer wise. A physical layer, we go for physical layer. There are various attacks like jamming, node tampering, eavesdropping, tag cloning attacks are there. And if we go for the network layer, the cyber attack, wormhole attack, sinkhole attack are comes in this category. Further, we can move on the upper layer, final layer, business layer. We can see here the data aggregation distortion are there. So these attacks based on the device security at physical level, communication security at the network level, and management or application security at the application level. Now it is the basically possible security. This figure shown the possible security attack scenario based on the smart home and smart healthcare application. Oval shape shown the attacks on smart home scenario. Second oval shape, I have represented the smart health attack. Rest of the scenario is the for other network connected to the clouds, and go further it will go for the users. If we go for smart home, we are living in the world of smart objects. These objects are not intelligent, just smart enough, and it's not smart enough to danger. Most of these devices are connected to the internet and hence IP enabled. We here use the IP enabled devices, and these smart devices contribute to the pool of things that can be recruited into botnet. Other platforms use the distributed attack. These attacks make it more difficult to detect the attack source and make it easier to overcome. We can see here we have shown here 3 eavesdropper. One is for flooding attack. Actually, the resolution is not much high, and bandwidth attack, IP spoofing attack is there. That is also called social attack. And in the smart healthcare, second we have shown here the smart healthcare attack. If we go for toward the smart healthcare devices, they are teeny size. Most of the smart healthcare devices are very small in size. So consumption is significantly less amount of battery power. So size is small, obvious thing, the battery power consumption is very small. So less amount of battery power for transmitting the information to the end user. And some of these devices implant in the inner body of the human animal and are very critical. If an eavesdropper send the fake request to the devices continuously, the battery power start drain quickly, and battery life will reduce from, basically if we go for NB-IoT and from NB-IoT perspective, battery lifetime is up to 10 years. If any eavesdropper send the fake request, continually send the fake messages to that devices, so that device is drained quickly. We can say this attack is a battery drainage attack. We flood the messages, we flood the requested on the devices. If we go, if we we have seen, if we consider the heart implanted devices, its lifetime is generally 10 years, up to 10 years. So if we bombarding the messages on that devices, the lifetime of that devices become uh, reduced and very much reduced. So it will make the patient condition critical, and it will now, if another attack shown in this system architecture is source code attack. If the attacker changes the hardware source code, anyhow, the device will not perform as usual and give wrong result, which can also perform the several problems with the patient. So here we have shown two major issues regarding health. And this is the system model for the hardware attack scenario, which I have performed in the IoT lab. And for move on in large perspective, we have taken here the social attack scenario, and it is attacked by an UAVR. We have considered the attack. We have proposed the system model, and it is focused on the social attack in the smart home. In this, any wireless IP camera has been installed here inside the home to monitor the activity going on the smart home. As we know, these wireless IP cameras will access the internet from the SCA. SCA basically is the small cell access point. These term comes in 5G. It's just like a, we can say, access point. We can say generally say the access point. In 5G terms, we can say SCA. Based on the channel assigned by the SCA to the IP camera, it may connect or disconnect another SCA based on the channel condition and signal strength. That is signal to interference noise ratio, SINR. Suppose SINR varies with the channel condition and more than one SCA available in this area. There is a possibility that the IP can try to connect the available SCA. So, however, due to MAC address and ESSID and secure communication, they are filled with the communicating with other SCA. Here we have deployed 3 different terminal name wireless security camera, SCI Wi-Fi router, and UAVR in next slide, mounted on a wall and operated with the help of a monitoring device. First device is the wireless security camera. We have deployed this device and configured with its monitoring device. This camera is connected with the monitoring device via access point or SCA or Wi-Fi router, as shown in the figure in the 5G. Second device is SCA or Wi-Fi router. To formation of this device, we have formed this device through the Raspberry Pi. For broad purpose, I have shown here this figure, but we have made the Raspberry Pi devices as an SCA or we can say Wi-Fi router. First, we install the on Raspberry Pi. We have installed the Raspbian operating system, which is the authenticated operating system for the Raspberry Pi device. In this micro and the memory card inbuilt in the Raspberry Pi. After completing the installation, we have connected with the 3G GSM module with that is SIM 800A, which is used for 3G network. And then we change the configuration of Raspberry Pi devices that is enabled with Wi-Fi hotspot. We have converted the simple Raspberry Pi devices into hotspot as mobile phone. We can connect simply our mobile phone in hotspot, but in Raspberry Pi we have shown in further slides that how we can make a Raspberry Pi devices and change it to a hotspot. For experimental purpose, we have considered our 5G IoT lab at SMVDU, Sri Mata Vaishno Devi University Wi-Fi. Here we have shown the device 3. Basically, this is the combination of two devices. For this purpose, we have required the two devices. We can see here a Raspberry Pi devices inbuilt on the quadcopter. When we have worked on UAV not available in our lab. So we have inbuilt our Raspberry Pi in the quadcopter. So for designing the prototype of this UAV-based board devices, we have installed a Linux operating system. We have installed a Linux in another Raspberry Pi. First Raspberry Pi, we have installed the Raspbian operating system. In the another Raspberry Pi device, we have installed the Linux operating system in for spoofing purpose, or we can say attacking purpose. We have scanned all the wireless devices SCA located in the range of our Raspberry Pi devices or module. UAV means we can see here the quadcopter, and the real-time scanning result implementation I will show later. And this Raspberry Pi devices is mounted on the UAV quadcopter, and further we have this SCA router is jammed due to the bombardment of DDoS attack. We have from this device we have performed the DDoS attack, denial of subscription. We can say we have jammed the authenticated SC device with this board device through the bombardment of the DDoS attack. Meanwhile, we put the board devices mounted on the UAV near the security camera. This board devices has the same ESSID extended device to masking. We have made the duplicate devices same as the SCA devices. To this, we have jammed that devices or UAV-based board devices will be near the security camera, and act itself is an authenticated SCA Wi-Fi devices. And due to this SCA device, a high signal strength and camera will connect with the board device and send the recorded information to further intruder and person located in the background of hardware implementation in our lab. And there is the IP camera or installation of SCA. We can see a Wi-Fi devices. We have shown here how we can work on it. This is the real-time image I have shown here. Then we have created the clone SCA devices, making the clone through the Raspberry Pi. All these things are done by the Raspberry Pi devices, and place the attacker near the security camera performing the attack. We have placed the attacker near the security. Then this is the specification for developing our module. This is, first module is wireless camera. Second module, we can say second device, that is very Pi 3 module, and third module is our we have both devices. We can say attacker devices. To this all this, we have performed the attack. This is the some screens screenshot and how we can perform the attack. And this is the detailed step-by-step process of developing hardware setup. Due to lack of time, I am skipping the detailed information further. You can see the slide and see the detailed implementation of our work, and that is the how we can perform the attack on Raspberry through Raspberry Pi terminal devices. Process of configuring basically this is the process of configuring Raspberry Pi as clone Wi-Fi device. We how we make clone device to the Raspberry Pi, and further we have perform how we can perform the attack to Raspberry Pi. We have shown detailed in this in the screenshots step, and this is the basically real-time hardware module development. Here we have taken the some parameters for detecting the devices. First is ESSID, which is the 32-bit character string used for naming the network, and it is inserted into the header of each data packet processed by wireless application driver. And second is second parameter we have taken to measure the devices. Second is frequency or the Wi-Fi signal frequency bandwidth work on 2.4 gigahertz, which is divided into smaller frequency band of the channel bandwidth of 20 megahertz. It has 11 available. It has basically 11 available channels that are 0.005 gigahertz away from each other. Third parameter I have taken here the quality. Quality is measured by Wi-Fi quality is measured by the signal into 0 to 70 scale. 0 means there is no signal received, and 70 means signal is reliable and excellent. We can see here, if we attack on the IoT device, the signal strength of IoT 5G lab is full, while another device signal is very weak as respective to the other. And then we have taken the parameter signal level. It is also used for calculating the strength of the signal ranging from -32 dBm to the 90 dBm. It is ranges from the -30 dBm to -90 dBm. Then we have taken the MAC address. All of us aware with the MAC address. It is also called the BSSID, basic service set identifier, and we have used the following authentication suits in this, like TCP/IP, CCMP, and finally we have concluded that the basic in the all these slides we have concluded in this presentation the basics of IoT background is the process with attack perspective, like we have seen here, shown here the RFID for the regulation and architecture for the security purpose. And I have represented or proposed attack scenario for the smart home as well as in smart healthcare cases. We have provided the layered description of multiple security attacks. We cannot explain much due to lack of time. And then we have shown here the detailed description of UAV-based attack on the proposed system model. I have initially I have proposed a system model, then works on it, attack on genuine UAV scenario, block that, and basically simply we can do it simply, but using Raspberry Pi, it's a big task for us, for our team members, how we can use we can perform these tasks by using the Raspberry Pi device. And then I have shown here the hardware development for the real-time environment. You can see here all the perspectives is real-time. So finally, I want to acknowledge my university where I am working at Maharaja Agrasen University, which is at Solan, Himachal Pradesh. Due to flood, the signal can open the video this time, and you can see on already in the screen the internet condition is not good due to flood. There is some disturbance in the internet, and then I have acknowledged our 5G IoT lab where I have done my research. All the research work duration of research at Sri my guide and Central University of Jammu, then our lab coordinator and my mentor, Dr. Rakesh, and all other team members of 5G IoT lab. And thank you very much, sir, for giving me the opportunity in this esteemed platform, great platform. And it's over. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Thank you very much.
Okay, sir.
I think it's a bit, the presentation is a bit longer than expected. So if there is a short question or comment. No. Are there any questions or comment? No. Then I'd like to proceed to the next presentation. Thank you very much, Mr. Kumar, for presenting your summary of IoT security and your actual experiment about hardware.
Thank you,
attack.
Professor.
So
Thank
you very much. So I'd like to
you,
invite next presentation by Mr. Ice Ignacio. Okay, I can see your presentation, so please go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh.
Again, sorry about that. I hope everyone's seeing the presentation.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah, we can see it.
thank you so much. So hello and good morning to each and every one of you. Again, I'm Aris. I am from the Philippines, and currently I am, coming from the academe and one of the universities here in the Philippines. So I'll be sharing with you some of the security issues and challenges in education during the COVID-19 pandemic experiences and realization. And this is, sort of very vital nowadays and very in demand in a way because of the fact that everything is online and all of the classes, all of the learnings are being done online. Up until recently, when I don't know if you have heard of some of the news that we are currently going now face to face, but still we're into the hybrid mode and just feeling ourselves up, and before we go into the full face-to-face mode, but still we are still connected with the internet, with the online, and a lot of things that we are being involved in, and that will not really go away as of the moment. So moving forward, if you are still in social media, those are the hashtags. If you want to post something in your accounts or something, you could use those hashtags and you could amplify this certain event. Okay. So for my agenda for today, I will be having an introduction, statistics, the challenges and issues with regards to security, cybersecurity, and the like. And last but not the least, realizations. So if we are going to look back when the pandemic started, uh, a lot of things have happened. And based on the Microsoft Global Threat Activity Tracker report that was conducted from July to August 2020, there were recorded around 8 million malware incidents. And usually those incidents covers education as the most affected industry, sorry to say. And due to the fact that what happened was the adoption of the full online learning and distance education, because of the fact that each and every country, people were quarantined, and there are closed borders and people doesn't want to go out and they are prevented to go out. So that's what happened. Everyone stayed online. So some of the things that happened based on the report were defrauding, schools, and there were stolen sensitive information, ransomwares were deployed, and more often than not to extort money from the victims. So if you're going to look at the Philippine perspective, there was a shift to online learning and classes around March of 2020. And one of the issues there was the readiness of the schools, because of the fact that a lot of the schools who are conducting face-to-face previously really are not ready to go to an immediate shift. So there are certain instances that some of the schools have closed for a certain amount of time, because what they did was it's like they conducted an immediate training for their respective instructors or their respective teachers, so that they can get hold of that specific skill as much as possible for them to be able to deliver online learning. So that is what really happened. And there are a lot of issues that came from that, after which, from the training, and not only from the training, but also from the actual delivery of the classes itself. Okay. But before we go into that, I'll be showing you some statistics of the data gathering that we were able to obtain from this specific study. Okay, so we have talked to and surveyed around 29 institutions around the country, 22 of which are coming from the private institutions, and 7 are state colleges and universities. In the Philippines, they do have, the private institutions that were owned by common individuals, but the state colleges and universities are the ones that were owned by the state or even the local government, for that matter. 62% of the respondents from the survey came from educators, and 38% of the respondents came from students, which is a combination already of basic education and higher education. So what we have obtained from that would be some challenges and issues that we compiled, and we were able to determine. And when we were able to compile it, we were able to group it and come up with this specific challenges and issues, which were grouped into 2. First would be student educator driven vulnerabilities. Sorry for that. So with regards to this one, it pertains to an individual driven vulnerability. So it is really more on a certain personal approach, on an individual personal problem with regards to security per se. So here are the things that we were able to come out with. First and foremost, one of the issues that we found out would be the use of personal devices, or bring your own device, or BYOD, because this certain personal devices pose really a threat. If these certain devices were compromised already, and if it is compromised, more often than not, all of the activities that were being done by that specific student or educator can can be exposed into a lot of things. So these are one of the issues that we saw, and we all know that whenever students are going to go online, they're going to use their own devices. It's not really that schools would be able to provide them with each and every devices for that. Number two, passwords. it it might be a simple thing, sorry to say, but it's really a vulnerability because a lot of the students, a lot of our educators who are not technically inclined are using passwords for them to be able to remember it quickly. And these passwords are too simple enough that it creates a critical problem later on. And, we really cannot blame them, but there are really a lot of things that we need to look into whenever we are going into the issues of passwords, especially to our dear students and family members or instructors. Next, phishing. We found out a lot of issues with regards to phishing, and phishing had been a lot of these students and educators were caught unaware that what they are reading, for example, are not really real, not really true. And we got a lot of reports, maybe them getting some funds coming from bank accounts, and not only that, um, social media accounts being compromised and so on and so forth. And really, this really is a big issue with regards to this particular area. Next, malwares. When we talk about malwares, we all know that unsuspecting students and unsuspecting educators would be accidentally, use malware or click malware if there would be a certain email that were sent to them that they saw that it's really very convincing in a way. They would be clicking on that, and sorry to say that really exposes the device to a specific malware. Next, what about fake news? I think this would be one of the things when we are going into online education right now. There are a lot of information that have been floating around ever since, and recently there are a lot of information that contradicts the true nature of that certain data that are being presented. And really, we really need to look into this one because we really cannot stop it as of the moment, but as of the moment also we can do something about it. Next, illegal applications or software piracy. We really cannot as of the moment, I really cannot blame some of the students or educators who are going into illegal applications or software piracy because of the fact that the cost of applications, original applications, are at an all-time high during the time of the pandemic. And a lot of those people who really cannot afford resort to these types of activities and applications. And last would be cyberbullying and cyber predators. With regards to cyberbullying, it's really more on the behavioral of people already, and it's we really need to look into our children or our colleagues if that would be the case, so that we can prevent this kind of things. Also, cyber predators, there are a lot out there, especially who are prying with our unsuspected children. So as much as possible, if we could do something and monitor it and do away with it, it would be a great deal. Go moving forward. Next, we also saw some institution-driven vulnerabilities. That's the second one. And when we talk about institution-driven vulnerabilities, it's more on the school being compromised, for example, such as data breaches. Primarily, I did experience an example in which one of the institutions that I know were penetrated by a certain hacker coming from a large country, which I would not be mentioning already. But it's really a big deal, because as of this time, if you are not really going to protect your environment as much as possible, you will really have a problem moving forward. Next, another one that another institution had experienced is denial of service. And a certain hacker coming from South America dropped a DDoS to their, I think, enrollment system, if I could remember right. And it really posed a problem, because during that time, it was near the enrollment period, and there was an opening with regards to their system and their architecture. That is why a certain hacker was able to drop a denial of service attack to that institution. So just like earlier, institutions also fall prey with spoofing and phishing. Okay, and also malware and scarewares, especially ransomwares as of this time. And it's really difficult to go out with it, to get out with it as much as possible, because of the fact that once you were able to be infected by ransomware, there are really very limited ways for you to get out of it. Another thing that is very important that we saw in our survey would be the unpatched or outdated software vulnerabilities. And these outdated software vulnerabilities really pose a lot of problems, especially if you do really want to protect your environment. There is really a need for you to update your software or your operating system for that matter. Okay, so again, next, removable media. Well, if you do have people within your institution or within your organization who do have removable media, and this removable media or medium have been compromised, for example, and it would be inserted within your environment, well, you know what happens next. Some of the realizations that this specific areas, for example, students and educators and even institutions, for that matter, were able to realize, and these are the things that they really need to look into for them to be able to move forward and maybe prevent having another attack, for example, moving forward. So for students and educators, awareness and education is really a very big thing right now. And for people, maybe an ordinary citizen or an ordinary individual, to know about cybersecurity is really a big deal already. Just knowing what is really the correct password is a big step moving forward already. So I think awareness really is a big thing, and educating these people in order for them to be able to be curious and skeptical, that is really a great step again moving forward, because being curious and skeptical makes one really double check if, for example, a certain email message or maybe something that is being brought to their attention is really true or not. And if you do have any skepticism, you go down further. You ask people who knows, you ask people who are experts in the field, because these experts can give so much. And who are these experts? Anyone who knows about cybersecurity, not the fake ones, okay? But cybersecurity experts, maybe in an institution, system administrators, or even your simple teachers who do have prior knowledge of what cybersecurity is. Okay. So for institutions, these are the things that they came to realize. As much as possible, they need to conduct a regular risk assessment. And regular risk assessment for them to be able to know the gravity of what might come and how they would be able to mitigate. Also, incident response procedures. This is really, really important because once you do have an attack, what would be the things that you would be doing inside your organization? What are the first things you would do? What are the next things that you would do and perform so that you would be able to protect what is left of it if there would be. Next, it is really, really important to prioritize in building a culture of data protection. It is, I think, top to bottom, from the management, top management, going towards the regular users or the rank and file employees, for example, or staff, should be aware of how to secure data. And for them to be just simply be aware and simply know how to do it is a big step again. So frequent security awareness schemes, training. Training is really, really important. And if you would be conducting security training every now and then for them to be able to be refreshed and to know new technologies with regards to security and securing your environment, that would be also good. Okay. It would be also good if you do have a defined cybersecurity policy or guidelines, especially in institutions. And some of the institutions that I've talked to are not really that big, but they don't have any cybersecurity policy. And they were able, when they were penetrated, that was the only time that they realized that they need to create a certain guidelines for it. Next, education through partnerships. Partnering, for example, an institution partnering with an organization who is an expert in cybersecurity, that is a great way to train the staffs or the trainers within for them to be able to be upskilled, because this security experts coming from an external institution or an external organization can greatly help. And last but not the least, digital literacy. And institutions have this responsibility to give and to teach digital literacy to students. And we need to start them young. We need them to know cybersecurity or even digital literacy for that matter at the youngest that they can, so they will know how to move forward. So with that, I would like to leave you with a quote. So without cyber education, because I was always advocating for cyber education, there would be no cybersecurity. So again, thank you so much. And at this point, I would like to thank the organizers, APAN, and even all of the people who are here today for listening. And really, I am really honored, and it's really a great privilege to speak to you all. And thank you for listening. Thank you so much. By the way,
thank you very much. Okay. Let's continue.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I interrupted your last slide.
That's 20 minutes.
Yeah, actually, the problems you listed here is almost all the things happened in our university, I think, and we are also struggling for solving that problem. And also the education is also difficult because ignorant people are ignore our promotions. So we are always struggling about cybersecurity.
Also, it's the same issue with other institutions around the world. But when we realized this, it really came to our attention, and it was also reported, in other avenues as well. So.
Yeah, very interesting and informative presentation. Okay, so Lennon, please.
Yeah, Lennon has a question.
Thanks, Eric. Nice to see you here in different
nice
ways.
Yeah.
That's actually very interesting and linked to what I'm going to talk about after the break. But a quick question to you is, we're always talking about the importance of having cybersecurity awareness campaign or education. Could you tell us a little bit about the situation in Philippines in terms of the resources that that has been put in? And is there any more national designed or state designed cyber security campaign that is running by Philippine country rather than NGOs coming from Westerners and just copy and paste what has been done there? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that, Lennon. With regards to, there's a cybersecurity plan that was implemented previously, but one thing that was missing in a way is how it would be disseminated and how education would be part of it. What's happening right now is that private institutions are partnering with cybersecurity institutions, organizations. And with that, they are creating a program for their respective institutions for them to be able to deliver the technologies and the proper way to maybe secure an environment for that matter. Because there are a lot of, the BS cybersecurity program was just recently launched, maybe around, it's just young, around 3 years ago or 4 years ago. And that was through the partnership of an external organization, actually an international one. And a lot of the schools are now following suit, not only delivering the same program, but also partnering and integrating it into the other programs as well. And when we talk about not the higher education, that I am talking about the higher education there, but when we talk about the basic education, the one from grade, the elementary and junior high, senior high, these are schools are now creating digital citizenship type of a program wherein they would be able to deliver and also create awareness for them to be able to teach cybersecurity the proper way that it should be. So as of the moment, Lennon, that's it. But hopefully we would be able to make it further, implementing a lot of things in the future. And personally, in our institution, I am spearheading a cybersecurity track for our information technology students, for them to be able to know how to do it, and at the end of it they will get a certification from a reputable organization. And right now I'm partnering and talking to one of the organizations here locally. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Aris. We'll definitely talk about this a little bit more offline.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, please. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, thank you. Any questions? Any more questions? Yes.
Any question or comment?
No more? Yay.
I think there's one comment for Jemmy and Sen. Both are related to APNIC. So they can provide some solution to the entire Asian or the entire world, so that because this is the future of education, no doubt.
Really, I want to commend APNIC.
Yes.
Because of the fact that we are somewhat utilizing the APNIC Academy.
Yes.
So I would like to commend it for a great space.
Excellent. Yeah, please do let us know if there's anything that as APNIC that we can do to assist. And this goes for everybody as well. The APNIC Academy is a great resource, but if there's any content that isn't on the APNIC Academy, please let us know. We're always interested in knowing what the community is requiring, and sometimes the community involves research and education networks as well as the end education institutions themselves. I do know that there has been a couple of our webinars that have been picked up and used as just short little 30-minute training videos for parts of information technology training classes, you know, discussing DNS and DNS security, or discussing DDoS and DOS attacks and that. So yeah, we're happy to work with people. We're happy to take suggestions and recommendations. So if everybody puts in recommendations, we can plan forward for that. But yeah, and specifically for the work that you're doing, if there's anything that we can do specifically for the project and that course that you're working on, please let us know as well.
We can talk about
But yeah,
that, Jake.
yeah, but yeah, as I said in Zoom chat, you know, it's a great presentation. I've presented on the same topic. I don't think I could present it any better than what you did. But you know, it's always hard with security. There's so many different things that you can talk about, and of course, you have to carve out your presentation. The education is a very important part. Probably the only thing I'd like to add is just making sure that there are layers of security. You know, password security is a very good example. You can provide as much education as you can to everybody out there, but if you don't have a technical control layered on top that prevents people from using bad passwords, then you won't stop it. You know, people will still use password 123 even with all the education in the world. So but no, the education is a very important part because of the other aspects you mentioned. So very good.
Thank you so much, Jake. Yoshiaki, thank you so much.
Okay, so it's so I'd like to conclude the first session. Thank you very much for presenting three speakers. Thank you very much. And I think it's okay to just break around 10 minutes and resume from 11 a.m. I think. So I will resume from 11 a.m. About 7 minutes. It's a shorter break than expected, but please come back. Please sure to come back again and continue the next session. Thank you very much.